Hello everyone, we are starting a new parak of Pirkei Avot, the second parak, very exciting. By the way, feel free to send this along to anyone you think might be interested. And here we are, first Mishnah, and it begins with the compiler of the Mishnah, Rabbi. So it says, Rabbi Omer. So Ezo hi Derech Yeshara, Sheyavor lo ha'adam. Kol shehi tiferet lo aseh v'tiferet lo min ha'adam. So Rabbi says, what is the straight path that a person should choose? Anything which is tiferet lo aseh, which is glorious, or an honor for the person who does it, and an honor from other people, as in he gets honor from other people for doing this. And then it continues, Beheve zahir b'mitzvah kala kevachamura, and one should be careful with a light mitzvah as with a stringent one, because you do not know the reward for mitzvahs. And you should calculate the loss of a mitzvah compared to its gain, and the gain of an avera against its loss. And then it finishes off, and look towards three things, and you will not come towards an avera. You should know what is above you. A seeing eye, a hearing ear, and all of your actions are written in the book. So there's a lot to unpack here, as you can imagine. We are not going to get to everything today. I would like to focus on just, I guess, the general intro and the first bava of the Mishnah, the first teaching. First, we'll really be looking through the eyes of the Maharal in Derech haChaim, and he really starts off. It's really interesting. She says it's the beginning of this parak, as well as the third parak of Pirkei Avot and the fourth parak of Pirkei Avot, begins with the way he plays this. Right? Whatever has like a kind of like all-inclusive, a more general piece of musar, that's how chapters 2, 3, and 4 begin. What does it mean? It means like these apply to all of our actions. Right? What is a straight path that a person should choose? That's applicable to all of one's actions. Whenever a person is about to act, we need to think, okay, well, how is this going to reflect on me? What's the nature of this action, and how is it going to reflect on me? That's applicable to everything. Where you go, what you eat, how you eat, the job you take, how you perform that job, how you speak to other people, virtually everything. So it's musar kolel. And then if we look at the beginning of the third parak, it starts with, so Akavi ben Maharal Omer, Histaka l'shlosha dvarim v'ena tabal lidei avera. So Akavi ben Maharal says, look at three things and you will not come to sin. Okay, that sounds applicable to virtually every single thing that we do. And then the beginning of the fourth parak is Ben Zoma Omer Ezu Chacham Halom Mikol Adam, right? Who is a wise person, a person who learns from everyone. And it goes on, who is a strong person, who is a rich person. It's a famous Mishnah. And again, this is very generally applicable. It's not like one specific matter that we need to resolve. It's just it's all encompassing. How do we act? How do we think about ourselves? Relevant always. So that's how we begin. And let's look at this first bava. So it says, so Ezohi Derech Yeshara Sheyavor lo ha'adam. What is a straight path that a person should choose? The Maharal starts off with a few questions, and he says, what's the deal with Yeshara? Like Ezohi Derech Yeshara. What is the straight path? Why not just say what's the path? What path should a person choose? Presumably, the Torah is trying to instruct us on something that is straight. So why do we have to say a straight path? What do we gain? And moreover, what is this? Kol shehi tiferet lo aseh v'tiferet lo min ha'adam. It's honor for the person who does it, and from other people. Why do we need both? Why can't we just say one or the other? These are just a couple of questions that we should be percolating in our mind. And he begins. Very, very straightforward. Just reading it's amazing. He really thinks this through. And here's what he says. It's like this. The reason why we need both is because if you were to say kol shehi tiferet lo aseh, anything that is an honor for the person who does it, that is good in that when a person chooses an action, it's possible to choose the correct action. It's a good action. The action itself, praiseworthy. However, when onlookers are onlookers and look on, it may not grant him honor from other people. That is to say, people will mock him for it. They will disparage him for these actions, and that's a problem. Even if the action itself is good, you look at the action, good, praiseworthy. We like the action. However, when other people look in, their reaction is going to be so negative that it's not good. That's not the way a person should act. And now the problem with that, and of course, the reason why this is important is because it's important to both be yotzi with yourself as well as with other people. It's not just actions between ourselves and with God. It's also, how does this look like to other people, to the onlooking society? So that's point one. However, it's interesting that the Maharal kind of immediately comes in and twists us back around and he says, but hang on a second. If we were to just say, Koshi tiferet lo mina adam, that's a problem. Why? Because now we're focusing too much on like, well, how do other people see me? And the problem with that is, even if it's something that, again, might be a good action, the Maharal doesn't say this explicitly, but it seems like even if the action itself it's a good action, and other people praise him for it, right? It's a praiseworthy action from the inside of other people. The issue is, if we kind of start changing our perspective too much and really just focus on Koshi tiferet lo mina adam, then we might be praising someone who isn't doing the action l'shem shamayim. He's not doing this with noble incentives, with noble motives. And moreover, he even uses strong lashon. He says, "V'lifamim mechaven laha'arim she'en niret tzadik le'inei habriot, v'lo sheyach b'zeh lomar she'yivchar derech zeh." So it might be sometimes a person will purposely, intentionally deceive other people and make himself appear to look like a tzaddik. And the Mishnah can't possibly telling us to do this, to act in a way that's false to how a person actually is and deceive other people. That doesn't pan out. The Mishnah is not a big fan of that, and that's why we don't say Koshi tiferet lo mina adam. We have both. And so what Rebbe is really teaching us is that there are two things we need to look at. And that's how he kind of concludes the next paragraph. He says, so what are we looking for? What's the gain from every action we do? That is to say, the action should be good. It should be worthy, both truthfully in and of itself. Intrinsically, the action is worthwhile, but moreover, the onlooker should also be worthwhile. It's both of those things. It's not one or like I'm focusing a lot on what other people, how other people perceive me. That's not good. That might start ruining your kavanah, your intentions, right? You're too focused on like, listen, this might be a better action, but I mean, people will think really well of me, so that's not. No, we're nipping that right in the bud, and that's why the Mishnah begins with both of these prongs. And again, it's just the Maharal just keeps plowing forward. He says he doesn't end there. It's like, okay, maybe his actions won't be l'shem shamayim, but he also focuses on what does it say mina adam. Koshi tiferet lo sia v'tiferet lo mina adam. Why not just say v'tiferet lo mina briot? Right? That's generally the way the Mishnah seems to phrase itself. It talks not only about like ha'adam, it's just the briot, in front of other people, the creations in general, more generally speaking. Maharal says there are two issues that ha'adam is coming to resolve, and one is he has to be an adam, he has to be a thinking person, he has to be some kind of human, activating his more human faculties. He needs to be like a rational individual, he's able to weigh things out properly. If you take someone who can't think, who's not an adam, he's just kind of like a creature, he's just a bria, that doesn't really speak very highly of this individual, and so he can't rely on his judgment. That is to say, okay, so like, the fact that he doesn't like the action, or he does like the action, doesn't say anything because his assessments of what's worthy are not really worthwhile thinking about. And the second thing is there's a natural tendency, as Rav Bernstein loves to say, that morality, a person's frame of ethics, seem to align almost perfectly, suspiciously with where the person himself is holding. If you're looking for perfect ethical truth, then look at what I do and no further, and now you'll know, right? And so that's the issue. And the way the Maharal says this, and this is used elsewhere in rabbinic literature, is and even I think in Tanakh, if you look at the end of Shoftim, right before the beginning of Shmuel, it says, so Gamish Lomach, Ki kol derech ish zach beinei atzmo. Right? Person's actions, they're perfect in his own eyes. So what he's saying, like, kol shetiferet lo min adam, who says this is a person who's worthwhile trusting? Everyone thinks that that what they're doing is great. Well, everyone is they're gonna respect me for all the things that I do. No, we're not interested in that. That's not what's going on. That's why we need to have both. Kol shetiferet lo seha, right? The action itself must be praiseworthy, and it needs to look good for other people. It's both of those things together. Fine. And then let's answer one last question. So it says, Ezui derech yeshara sheyavur lo adam. What's a straight path? Well, why straight path? This is again emphasizing a point the Maharal has brought up. That is to say, sometimes a person could take a path, and it's a good path. It's a good path. But it's not the best path. It's not the straightest of the straight. And that's how, again, the Maharal says this. He says, the straight path among the straightest paths. Sorry, the straightest path among the straight paths. That is to say, there are other things that it's the action is good, it's a praiseworthy action, but it doesn't necessarily resolve itself well to onlookers. And as a result, it's important not to take that path, even though it's a straight path, but to take the straightest path of all, which is the action is good, it's good for other people, everything works out. That's the path that we are looking to take. We'll end it over here, and we will pick up hopefully next time. I think we'll stay with this mission. There's a lot to say.